Hi, this is Werner from Scapago again, and today I'd like to ask you what is your main resource for learning Norwegian? Because actually these are the two things we need for learning a language, right? We need people to interact with, to talk to listen to practice with. I'm going to talk about that in my next video. And we also need some source of content where we pick up new words, new grammar structures, idiomatic expressions, and so on. And there are a few characteristics that the source or resource should have so it serves us well. Because sometimes people think, especially if they are already on a, say, A2 level, couldn't it be anything? Couldn't it be Netflix in Norwegian, podcasts in Norwegian, books, novels, and so on? And I think, well, yes and no. Yes, if you're very advanced, if you're like B2 and above, I think then you don't really need a textbook or something very well structured. You can just go pick up any Norwegian novel and learn new vocabulary, new grammar structures, or not even grammar structures, because by then you should have the grammar, but new ways of using vocabulary maybe through that. But if you're B1 or below, I think this is not really realistic. Firstly, it must be very frustrating. I hear Norwegian teachers sometimes saying to A1 or A2 students, listen to the radio. And I'm like, what's supposed to happen? This is way too difficult if you listen to Norwegian radio when you're a beginner. The only result is going to be that you will be very frustrated. It's like you tell a beginner, go sit in a cafe in Oslo and listen to the people, and if you do that, 1-2 years later, magically you'll pick up Norwegian. No, it doesn't work like that. What you need is basically a resource that has the concept of what linguists call comprehensible input, meaning you have something very simple that you understand and then you build on it, like you get a new word, or you get the same words again used with a different grammar approach. And then you get everything that you have already learned again and again something new. So you always have like this 80-90% of the things you already know, and then you get something slightly new. So it has to be something that is deliberately produced for language learning. Secondly, I think it should have a structure, because otherwise it's very difficult for you to build a concept of how the language functions. That is the point of theoretical studies in general. Why would you otherwise do it? You might remember that I was talking about this balance between theory and practice, so this boils down to that a little bit. So these two things. Thirdly, it should have audio. Listening comprehension, very important. So if it's a book, it should have audio files or streaming, CD, whatever. And the fourth thing, of course, it should be fun, because otherwise you're going to abandon it. And the worst method is the method you don't use. So of course, take all my recommendations a bit with a grain of salt, because as you might know, I've published this Norwegian textbook, The Mystery of Niels, where you can learn Norwegian with a coherent story, which you might already know. So I don't want to say that I cannot benefit from you when you buy this book, but on the other hand, of course, there is a reason why we made this book the way it is, because we believe that these four components should be there, and above all, that there should be the fun aspect. What about apps like Duolingo, Memrise, and so on? I like them, but as an auxiliary, because they have the comprehensible input component, but the structure is lacking a little bit. So I think these resources alone will not get you very far. I personally like books because I'm a bit old-fashioned. But I think it could also be an online course. If it's well structured, if it has comprehensible input, audio, of course, usually they have audio, and if they're fun, why not? We have even published The Mystery of Niels as an online course with a lot of audio exercises for repetition and interactive exercises and these things. For me personally, for all the languages I have learned, I've used several methods. I've used several textbooks, several courses, and so on. But I recommend you not to use all of them at the same time. So, of course, if you're unhappy with a method, if you've bought our textbook and you don't like it, send it back, burn it, whatever, and get another one. Also, I think it is helpful to work through one method and then do the same content with another method, because you get another perspective, you learn the same stuff explained in a different way, you might benefit from it, but don't do it like completely at random, because then again you lose this structure benefit. Okay, so for today I'd have two questions or two challenges. If you have a method, please share in the comment what it is. We'd like to know. Also, if you haven't, please go online, find something, find a course, find a book that will help you structure your Norwegian learning. And the second challenge, or the second question I have, are there any resources out there that you would love to have for learning Norwegian, but you couldn't find? Please put that also into the comments, because we're planning to make more resources for learning Norwegian that should also be fun and have audio and comprehensible input and I would like to hear your opinion. Thanks for today, and I'll see you in the next video.